Pandavaschaiva kimakuruvata Sanjaya.
And Mataji, you may have to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
Text 2. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanikam vyudham duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanamabravit.
Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
Text 3. Paschaitam panduputranam acharya mahatim chamum vyudham drupada putrena tava shishyena dhimata.
O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
Text 4. Atra shura maheshwasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharataha.
Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada.
Text 5. Drishtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha.
There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chetikana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibhya.
Text 6. Yudhamanyuscha Vikranta Uttamaujaschcha Viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharataha.
There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters.
Text 7. Asmakam tu visishtaye tani bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tan bravimite.
But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force.
Text 8. Bhavan bhishmascha karnascha kripascha samitim jayaha ashwathama vikarnascha saumadatti sataiva cha.
There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvathama, Vikarna, and the son of Samadatta, called Urishrava, who are always victorious in battle.
Text 9. Anye cha bahavaha shura madarte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanaha sarve yuddha visharad. Sorry, text 8, no? Sorry, I missed it. Hare Krishna, is it text 8, Prabhuji?
No, we've just done text 8.
You were right.
Okay, 9. Okay, I was right. I heard somebody was saying, okay. Anye cha bahava shura madharte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanaha sarve yuddha visharadaha. Sorry, I heard somebody was saying.
That's all right. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science.
Text 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्.
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by Grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited.
Text 11. अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि.
All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army.
Text 12. तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षं पुरुवृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनोद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान्.
Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy.
Text 13. ततः शङ्काश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तुमुलो भवेत्.
After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous.
Text 14. ततः श्वेतैर्हययुक्ते महती स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्कौ प्रदद्मतुः.
On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells.
Text 15. पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्कं भीमकर्मावृकोदरः.
Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra.
Text 16 to 18. अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषा मणिपुष्पकौ काशश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकीश्च पराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्कान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक्.
King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew the Sugosa and Manipuspaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Sikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells.
Text 19. सघोषोदार्तराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो अभ्युनुनादयन्.
The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra.
Text 20. अतः व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धातराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदं वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते.
At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the son of Dhritarashtra, drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words.
Text 21 to 22. Arjuna uvacha senayorubayormadhye ratam stapayamechyuta yavadeta niriksheham yodhukamanavasthitan kairmaya saha yodhavyam asmin ranasamudyame.
Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms.
Text 23. Yosyamanavekshekham yayetetra samagataha dhartarashtrasya durbuddhe yuddhe priyachakirshavaha.
Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra.
Text 24. Sanjaya uvacha evamukto rishikesho gudhakeshena bharata senayorubayormadhye stapayitva rathottamam.
Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam. Sorry for any mistakes. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavati Mataji. That was very, very nice. Very nice recitation. And thank you, Anna Mataji, for stepping in and reciting the English. So welcome, dear devotees, to today's chat session. It's wonderful to be in your association again. And let me just see. So today, just before we start, I would like to sort of dedicate this class to one of our regular members, Sandeep Prabhu. Yesterday I was at the temple and I met Sandeep Prabhu. And it was really nice meeting him. And later on in the evening, I got a message from him. He had a heart attack and he had to go through an emergency operation. So, I'd like to request all the wonderful and great Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in today's session to please offer your prayers to our dear Sandeep Prabhu, that he may make a full and complete recovery and thus be able to continue with his devotional service in good health. Hare Krishna. So, as normal, we will start off by reciting the Mangala Charanam prayers to invoke auspiciousness and to offer our gratitude to the predecessor, Acharyas, and the Lord. And those can follow on page number 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatra Dishatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So reading chapter 1, observing the entitled Observing the Armies. And today we shall read text 21 and 22 together. Arjuna Uvacha Senayor Ubayo Madhye Ratam Stapaya Me Achyuta Yadvad Etam Niriksheham Yodhu Kamam Avashtitam Kairmaya Saha Yodhavyam Asmin Rana Samudyame. Word for word synonyms. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Senayo of the armies, Ubayo both, Madhye between, Ratham the chariot, Stapaya please keep, Me my, Achyuta O infallible one, Yavat as long as, Etan all these, Nirikshe may look upon, Aham I, Yodhu Kaman desiring to fight, Avastitan arrayed on the battlefield, Kai with whom, Maya by me, Saha together, Yodhavyam have to fight, Asmin in this Rana strife, Samudyame in the attempt. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As a pure devotee of the Lord, sorry, this is not it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone is under his order, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that the pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who was leading present persons on the battle. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons on the battlefield were, although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield. He wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Just bear with me, switch my phones off. So the verse again. Arjuna said, "O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms." So in this previous verse, we read about Arjuna for the first time approaching Lord Krishna to speak to him. And here Arjuna is speaking to the Lord. And it's quite, in one sense, it's very appropriate. And in another sense, quite amazing that the very first exchange between the Lord and Arjuna is Arjuna instructing the Lord to draw his chariot between the two armies. And Prabhupada explains that the reason Arjuna is requesting the Lord to do this, so just bear with me, I need to annotations. All right. Is he wanted to see who was on the opposing side. But before we discuss that aspect, let's discuss the most interesting aspect. And that is, in the very first exchange, we see the servant ordering the master, or the devotee ordering the Lord. And we say ordering, but actually it was a request. Now, in other traditions, such an introduction of the Lord would be quite sacrilegious, would be offensive. In other religions, it is considered abominable for anyone to even dare give the Lord any order or any instruction. And here we see something quite extraordinary in the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, in one sense, starting with the opposite taking place. The devotee ordering or giving instruction to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada has explained this very nicely, but before he does that, Srila Prabhupada establishes Krishna's position. He says the Lord is addressed as Achyuta, meaning infallible. And if you look at the dictionary, what is the meaning of infallible? The meaning of infallible is someone who could never go wrong, can never fail, or never make a mistake. So Prabhupada says that word Achyuta is very significant because Krishna can never make a mistake by taking on a subordinate position. There must be something very interesting and very intriguing. Prabhupada then goes on to explain in the purport that although he, the Lord, had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. So Prabhupada, understanding that there may be different people who are reading the Bhagavad Gita. Some people, the moment that they read that Krishna is serving as charioteer, there may be some doubt in their mind whether Krishna can indeed be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is very important for them to understand Krishna's supreme position, because if at the beginning, at the outset, there is this doubt about Krishna's position, then all of the instruction that Krishna is going to give in the Bhagavad Gita may not be accepted in the proper mood. So Srila Prabhupada, being the Acharya, he nicely reminds the readers of the Bhagavad Gita that although Krishna had accepted the position of charioteer, his position as Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is unchallenged. Because no matter in whichever position he acts, his position can never be challenged. In one conversation, Srila Prabhupada said, God is always God. Whether he's sitting on the lap of Mother Yashoda, he's God. Whether he's carrying the shoes of his father on his head, he's God. Whether he's acting as charioteer of Arjuna, he's God. Not God can never become God. God is always God. So Prabhupada is saying that no matter what position that Krishna accepts, he remains the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although one who is not in knowledge may externally see it differently. So this important point is made by Srila Prabhupada for our benefit, so that we will be able to accept the instructions of Krishna in the right spirit. Then Srila Prabhupada writes something very interesting. And Prabhupada talks about the relationship between the servitor and the Lord. Prabhupada writes, the servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord. And similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being given the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds out that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. So Srila Prabhupada is revealing something very intimate about the Lord. And it's quite amazing that Srila Prabhupada does this so early on the Bhagavad Gita. One of the names of the Krishna is Rasa Raj. Meaning, Raj means king, Rasa means transcendental mellows. So Krishna is the king of all transcendental mellows, means he is the one that enjoys all types of transcendental mellows. Rasa. Rasa, actually, it's a very, very difficult word to translate into English. Sometimes one may be unable to find the appropriate English translation for some Sanskrit words. And Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he translated as rasa as transcendental mellow. So the nature of the Lord is he wants to enjoy all types of transcendental mellows. One very prominent rasa is the Rasa of Dasyaras, where Krishna is master and the devotee is servant. And there is so much of this Dasyaras prevalent. And Prabhupada says sometimes Krishna is tired of this being same rasa. Krishna likes to enjoy variety. So he wants to enjoy some different taste, different mellow with his devotees. And Prabhupada says in the purport, what type of different mellows does he want to enjoy? Sometimes he wants to become subordinate to his devotee. And Prabhupada says, Krishna, he enjoys this position of being subordinate to his devotee much more than he enjoys being the master and someone being subordinate to him. So Arjuna, by asking Krishna, requesting Krishna, ordering Krishna to draw his chariot closer, Arjuna was actually giving very nice service to Krishna. The position of the devotee is, the devotee only aim in life is how to give pleasure to Krishna. The devotee is constantly thinking, how will Krishna be pleased by my action? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the materialist wants sense pleasure. The jnani wants the pleasure of merging into the impersonal Brahman. The yogi wants the pleasure of having the yogic siddhis. And the devotee, what does the devotee want? Some people say the devotee doesn't want anything. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no, the devotee wants something. And what the devotee wants is, let Krishna be pleased by my actions. Let Krishna be pleased by my service. So actually, people who are not very advanced in spiritual life, they may be disgusted. They may become angry with Arjuna. They may think he's impudent by asking Krishna, instructing, ordering Krishna to draw his chariot. But those who are in knowledge, those who are advanced in spiritual life, they just revere. They just love Arjuna for giving this order to Krishna, because they know by doing this, he was giving Krishna lots of pleasure. Krishna feels more pleasure in being ordered by his Lord, by his devotee, by being ordered by his devotee, than by taking orders. So this is the science of bhakti. The science of bhakti is a very, very advanced science. And we learn the science of how pure devotional service, there is something called oneness. The jnanis, they want to merge. They want to become one with the Lord. But the devotee wants to achieve a different type of oneness with the Lord. It's not the oneness where they become God, where they become one with Brahman. But the devotee's oneness is different. And I'll read from a talk that Srila Prabhupada gave. This is just an extract when Srila Prabhupada gave in Melbourne, Australia, in April 7th, 1972. Prabhupada writes, oneness does not mean void, no. Oneness means when our interest becomes one. That is oneness. Real oneness means to be interested in Krishna. That is oneness. Other oneness will not stand. Just like you are now in one. As soon as your interest becomes a little different, you become separated. So there is quite possibility, because you are individual. There is quite possibility of disagreeing with another individual person. There is quite possibility. So oneness does not mean you lose your individuality. Oneness means you keep your individuality, but you take the same interest. That is oneness. So this is something very interesting. Others who want to achieve oneness want to lose the individuality. But in bhakti, there is no question of losing individuality, because for there to be loving service, there has to be individuality. And Prabhupada says the oneness that is there in bhakti is the oneness in the aim, the goal. Prabhupada says the interest. Krishna's interest is to enjoy pleasure. And the devotee's interest is to give Krishna pleasure. Krishna also knows it's the nature of the living entity. We as living entities, we are always pleasure seeking. We are always pleasure seeking. So Krishna, knowing that we are pleasure seeking, he also wants to make sure that we achieve the greatest pleasure. So the oneness between the Lord and the devotee is achieved when there is oneness of interest. There is no distinction. There's absolute and complete oneness in interest. And this is what we are witnessing between Arjuna and the Lord. When Arjuna instructs or asks the Lord to draw his chariot. And this is something so wonderful. It is something so unique in the Bhakti tradition. And the devotees of the Lord, when they read this verse, how wonderful it is. How wonderful it is that Arjuna is instructing Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna, wanting to please his dear friend, he's taking great pleasure in drawing the chariot of Arjuna. So this is a very nice verse. Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, which we'll just touch on, as a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana. Now, Prabhupada explains here, what was the main reason Arjuna asked Krishna? Besides giving, maybe not the main reason, maybe the secondary reason, the devotee's main reason is always give pleasure to Krishna. So the secondary reason was, therefore he was very anxious to see who the leading persons on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So Arjuna wanted to just see who's on the other side, how much they wanted to carry out this war. Arjuna was not looking for peace. He was just wanting to observe the mentality and the consciousness of the others on the battlefield. So dear devotees, we'll stop here for now. We'll see if anyone's got any questions, comments, or reflections on this verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Puja Mataji.
Yes, I'm a little bit confused because I thought Arjuna knew who are the army on the opposite side were against the Pandavas.
Yes.
And yet he wants to see what they are, but as you explained that he wants to know their consciousness and their attitude, is it?
Yes, yes. Yeah. You know, he would, when he looks at the people on the other side, he just wanted to see their intention. Sometimes by looking at people, you can gauge from they say that 90% of all communication is non-verbal. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to see, just by looking at them, what was their intentions by looking at their face. You know, that's what Prabhupada says. That's what Arjuna wanted to see. So yes, he knew that they wanted to fight. But as a last reminder, possibly, he wanted to see that intention in their faces again. That could have been for various reasons. One is to really increase his appetite to fight. But we can see by Krishna's influence, there's another thing that happens, interesting happens with Arjuna. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Puja.
Hare Krishna.
Any other
Hare
reflections? Hare Krishna, Rupa Mataji.
Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances to you.
My humble obeisances to you too.
Thank you. Krishna, I was thinking that when Arjuna requested or ordered Krishna to pull his chariot, he was in Yogmaya, because later on, when Krishna showed the universal form, he said, "Sorry, I called you as my friend, and we sat on the same bed, and we ate, and I did this and that." So when he realized Krishna is the supreme, so he was feeling so when devotees are ordering or thinking Krishna is subordinate, they are completely in Yog Maya when they are doing that. So Krishna is taking a lot of pleasure in that. The devotees are unaware that Krishna is the supreme.
Yes, you raised an interesting and quite a philosophical point, Rupa Mataji. There's two types of Maya. There is Mahamaya, which the conditions, living entities are covered by in the material world. Then there's another type of Maya in the spiritual world called Yoga Maya. And that Yoga Maya, it makes Krishna forget that he is God, and it makes the devotees forget that Krishna is God. And that service performed by Yoga Maya, who is Purnamasi, is there just to facilitate rasa. Like sometimes, we hear the pastime of Mother Yashoda running after Krishna with a stick. And we hear about how Krishna's face is full of fear, running away from his mother. So sometimes the question arises, is Krishna really feeling fear, or is pretending to feel fear? What do you all think, dear devotees? When Krishna is running from his mother, she's chasing him with a stick. Is he really feeling fear, or is he pretending he's feeling fear?
Really feeling fear.
He's feeling the fear.
Yes.
But he was being kind to his mother by stopping and so,
Yes.
being an obedient child in a way.
Yes, he's really feeling the fear. The Acharya says, when he rubs his eyes and tears come, he's really feeling it.
Yeah.
Krishna, but someone said, this is a contradiction. We know fear personified is a fate of Krishna. So how can it be Krishna? This all happens by the influence of Yoga Maya, a different type of Maya that is there to facilitate rasa, where Krishna forgets he's God and the devotee forgets that Krishna is God. So that's a nice point you raised, Rupa Mataji. It's another aspect of this Leela of Krishna being ordered by his devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Any other points, reflections, comments? Who feels unhappy when they hear about Krishna being ordered? Who feels joy and pleasure when they hear Krishna being ordered?
Devotees feel pleasure and non-devotees feel annoyed.
I am asking everyone on today's chat forum. Raise your hand on the reaction. There's a reaction button there. How many of y'all feel that upset with Arjuna for ordering Krishna? Put the face, or you put, what can I say? Okay, no. How many of you feel pleasure when you see Krishna being ordered by Arjuna? Put the heart over the reaction. Okay, there's quite a few devotees. They're getting a lot of pleasure by seeing Krishna being ordered. The Rasika devotees. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments or reflections by anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So in terms of the devotees feeling pleasure when Krishna is being ordered, doesn't that indicate Arjun's devotion, the level of his devotion? Then Krishna is under his control.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's good then. That's a good reciprocation, isn't it?
Yeah, the devotee's interest is always to give Krishna pleasure. If he was in a different type of mood or in reference, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. But he was in Sakyaras, friendship mood. So he was able to do that and give Krishna pleasure. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I lost you there.
Now I was just adding something to what I said in response to
Okay.
your question. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the request that Arjun made to Krishna, apart from requesting to Krishna to protect our service to him, what other requests are acceptable from a devotee to Krishna at our level?
Oh, at our level, Prabhupada said, you know, we should be in the mood of Krishna is the Lord and we are his servant.
The service. Yes.
So in the stage of Vaidhi Bhakti, Krishna is the Lord and we are his servant. So we do not take liberties of ordering and requesting Krishna. Although sometimes a certain form of Lord Krishna as Lord Nishingadev, we can request the Lord to give us protection. But when we come to the stage of spontaneous devotion, rag bhakti, then we can spontaneously request order Krishna in many ways. But for our stage, no.
Nothing at all. So even spiritual requests we can make to help us in our spiritual journey.
Give me some example of what you were thinking about. Give me a bit idea.
You're saying, oh, please Krishna, keep my children in Krishna consciousness. Please, guide them and help them. Say, for example, if you're saying that, that's a request you are, or is it a prayer?
Oh yeah, no. Sometimes the servant will go to the master and say, tell the master, I am in difficulty now. My family is in difficulty. Can you please offer us some protection, some help?
Right.
But that's still within the realm of master-servant understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. They can be. Sorry, I understood you a bit better, Imam Mataji. Yes, that can be there. All types of requests can be there. But the mood is primarily one of master and servant.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, I heard in another lecture that one shouldn't ask Krishna for anything. That one should just pray for and thank him for what we've got, because it isn't a good etiquette to follow those lines. Is that right? That's
right, and it's also not right. The devotee will ask Krishna for service. It's the mood, Mataji. It's the devotee can ask, but like when we pray, we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada says we are saying, Krishna, please engage me in your devotional service. Krishna, please engage me in your devotional service. So we are asking Krishna for something, but we are asking for his pleasure, because when Krishna gives us devotional service, what do? We do service for the pleasure of Krishna. So, and then we may ask Krishna to protect our bhakti. We may ask Krishna to protect us, but what are we asking them? We're asking Krishna to protect us, our bhakti, so that we may be able to give him pleasure. So there is a subtle difference there, Jolly Mataji. You're asking, but you're asking ultimately, your request is there on the basis for Krishna's pleasure. When that request is centered around ourselves, that is not good for bhakti. But when the request, be it any request, is centered around Krishna, any request is fine.
Okay, because I think when you thank him for everything, he gives you everything anyway, and what you need especially, but he gives us even more, and yet we don't show gratitude. So I thought gratitude covers everything. So anyway, that's good about the way you explained it. So if it's not like asking in that mood.
Yes, yes, we can
That
ask.
it's your want and not your need.
Yes, if we ask with the ultimate aim being for service to Krishna, to Guru, for pleasure of Krishna, there's no problem in any request. But when the request is centered around us, then it's not so good.
Totally, yeah. Thank you.
So there's a few nice comments have come in. Let me just read them. There's one from Anna. Hare Krishna, is it correct to understand that Krishna enjoys the interaction with his devotees, but he is only able to engage and reciprocate when the devotee is pure and the intentions are to serve, please Krishna, therefore they surrender and recognize? Well, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Anna, he reciprocates with everyone according to their consciousness. So Krishna says if someone wants to be enemy, he will act as enemy. If someone wants to give Krishna 25% of themselves, he'll give 25% of himself. If someone wants to give 50% of himself, he'll give 50% of himself. And if when someone wants to give 100% of himself, then Krishna will give 100% of himself. So there is always interaction between the jivas, the living entities, and Krishna. But that interaction is based on the desire of the living entity and the soul. So I hope that answers your question, Anna. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. There's a comment from Jayashree Mataji. Krishna is not really being ordered by Arjuna. He requests it so he can see the opposite side. Yes, that is true, Jayashree Mataji. There are few reasons. Prabhupada being the Acharya, he reveals two reasons. The second, what you have stated is the second reason Prabhupada gives in the purport. And the first reason Prabhupada says is reciprocation with Krishna. Emma Mataji, thank you for your comment. Sapra Mataji, thank you for your comment.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, I just remembered from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's class. He once said that Prabhupada's disciple once asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, what do you ask to Krishna when you pray to Krishna? What do you ask? And Prabhupada said, I say, Krishna, please give me the strength to serve you.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
So it was nice. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pramila Mataji.
Prabhuji, if Krishna is the knower of all hearts, so if we remember that, we don't really need to ask for anything, do we?
Yeah, again, it comes back to what you're asking, but also in any relationship, Mataji, you know, there is expression of what's in your heart. When you do not express yourself, the relationship seems to be very static, you know. So it's more dynamic when there's the devotee saying, you know, Krishna, I like to feed you. You know, Krishna, I want to share my lunch with you. Like say it's the Krishna and his cowherd boys. If the cowherd boys just think, Krishna knows my heart. He knows that I like to share my lunch with him. So he will come and take from my lunch because he knows my heart. As opposed to, I want to tell Krishna, I brought lunch and I want to share it. Which do you think is more dynamic and pleasing to Krishna?
Yeah, I guess it's more pleasing if you express it verbally.
Yes, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. It does get a little confusing sometimes when in another discourse somebody else says, no, do not ask for anything. Then it gets a little confusing sometimes.
It can be confusing, Mataji. There are different perspectives of looking at everything. In one sense, the devotee does not ask Krishna, but there are other perspectives also. the main thing when we say do not ask Krishna for anything means we do not ask Krishna for anything for ourselves, for our own sense gratification.
Yes.
For our own sense gratification. But for service, we can ask Krishna. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It's a very interesting. I'm just thinking about the word ordering. Does it actually say that? Because I think that it's to do with the relationship, isn't it? Because they've got a special relationship from a friend to a guru, and they have a better understanding then. And I suppose Krishna gave himself to him. So and they fought together. So I think in very good relationship, they actually they were able to say anything in a way that they know it wouldn't upset each other, or it wouldn't be crossing the boundaries in a way.
Yeah, that's the very reason, Jolly Mataji, in today's session, I spoke about the principle of oneness in Bhakti. It was for that purpose. Yes. When there's oneness of intention and purpose based on love, then there's a completely different dynamic there. Therefore, absolutely. I spoke about oneness. Yes.
Yes, the dynamic's different than anybody else's. Yeah. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, you wanted to add a reflection early on.
Hare Krishna, it's so delightful to hear the realizations of the assembled devotees. So I'm trying to absorb all this nectar, so to speak. Yeah, yes. And the devotees' love for Krishna and vice versa. Perhaps a little comparison can be made to a grandchild interacting with a grandparent. And sometimes the child will order the grandparent to do this or do that, and the grandparent will happily do that, because there was that example of that famous prime minister who had at number 10 Downing Street. Mm-hmm. The visitor was waiting and waiting and waiting, and eventually he peeped in, and the prime minister was busy. The grandchild was on his back, and he was like, piggybacking, playing with his grandson.
Yes.
That sort of feeling is still there. Is.
Yeah, Prabhupada would often quote that story. It was Lord, I'm forgetting the name right now, but I know what you're talking about, Prabhupada. Yes, on the basis of love.
Yes.
The norms that we're traditionally accustomed to all change. Love changes everything. Love changes everything.
That's right.
Yes.
And also, the Lord has his love for devotees which overflows. And that's why he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to exhibit that love.
Yes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened up that storehouse of love, which, took us all beyond the concept of God being master and us being servant.
Yes.
That's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give Raja Bhakti. And only in Raj do we experience these other rasas.
Yeah, it is incredible. And sometimes I'm scratching my head. Is this real? But yes, it is real. We can see the effects that it has on devotees, so many devotees, who are so absorbed in serving the Lord in some way or another. This is really
true. Very true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaitanya Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your wonderful questions, your participation, your comments, and your reflections. It's made today's session very, very relishable. Thank you very much. We'll conclude now by offering Vaishnava pranams to everyone. Let's offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for all of the conditioned souls. Panchakalpatarubhyascha
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Ananta Kori Vaishnavrinda Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande.
Prabhuji, we send healing prayers to Sandeep.
Yes,
Prabhu.
please, everyone, please send your
Yes.
healing prayers to Sandeep Prabhu,
Yeah.
who's going through some health difficulties now. Please do. Please do that.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Prabhu. Will
Hare
pray,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare